Hi, it's Deborah with Hail Recon. Today I want to show you how to find a good wind date. Hail Recon provides wind two different ways. We use personal weather stations that look like this. You and I can purchase these. We can put them on our rooftop and they connected to the internet and submit data to commercial weather companies. The other method is from NOAA wind damage reports. These are coming from people in the area that's certified through NOAA, our National Weather Service, and they call in wind damage based on high wind speeds. Tapping on any of the wind spotters would give you the information from that. So there are two choices in finding a wind date. First is by dropping a marker and running a show wind dates report. And the second is by choosing a date from wind observation dates. That's from an impact report. So we'd have to create the impact report and then look at the bottom section of the report of our wind observation dates. Once we've found a date, then we can apply that date by choosing that date as the date of loss. And then very lastly, we'll cover how to make this a wind-only report. Now, by default, a report that's generated is going to include all hail events for that same address. If you don't wish to have that on the report, then you can choose not to have it on the report by checking the box at the top of the report that says show wind dates only. All right, so let's take a look at a marker that I've dropped. So imagine that I really don't know what date to use for a wind date for this address. I'm going to tap on that address marker and open it. I have created an impact report already. So under impact reports, which is the printer, let's look at this one. So at the very top of the report, which is where we give you information as to what options to select or make choices, we also have this button that's called Change Date of Loss. So if you know the date, then you can simply click that button there and select a date of loss. Right now I have the 4/11/21 date selected. I'm going to scroll up a little bit and show you what I'm seeing here. So on this particular date, we have spotters that are calling in hail, and this is how far those spotter reports that was reported near this property. There's all your severe weather warnings and history of hail. Scrolling to the very bottom of the report is where you find wind observation dates from personal weather stations. Let's back out of this report, tapping the back button. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, I'll choose the menu and then show wind dates. All right, so this is a list of all dates where we have tornado warnings, thunderstorm warnings, and or wind damage reports. And then you've got your distance from the address in the last column. So we're looking for dates where there's either a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, and those warnings are at locations. So where it says distance, we want that to show at location. Let me scroll up a little bit and see if I can find a better one. So here on 8/21/2020, we have 4 counts of severe thunderstorm warnings at the location, and 7 counts of the wind spotter, these wind damage reports, and the closest is 5.57 miles from the address. So if I want to use this as the date of loss, 8/21/20, then I will go back to that report, and change the date of loss to that 8/21/2020 date. Save the report date of loss. The report will refresh. Now when I scroll down, these are the wind spotter reports that were submitted from authorized NOAA spotters. Here are the severe thunderstorm warnings that were posted that included this address. I'll scroll down past the historical storm activity and notice here that we have wind observations. So on the same date where we found severe thunderstorm warnings and wind spotters, we also have personal weather stations that's submitting high wind speeds. I can pick and choose which ones of these I'd like to be included on the report just by tapping the Include in Report. I'm going to choose the first three. Now I do want to mention that each of these personal weather stations that's submitting the wind speeds, we're calculating how far they are from this address and in which direction. Each of these bars represents the max gust per hour. This is a perfect example of what you should look for, and that is the similarities in the max gust per the hour. So each of these have a max gust at 5 p.m. Checking the box that says Use for Wind Narrative would create a narrative section on this report based on that personal weather station. As soon as I've chosen a narrative, the report will refresh. Scroll down past the Street View pictures and notice the new narrative section for wind impact details. After making all of our choices of wind data available for this address and within the date range acceptable, this impact report is providing evidence of damaging wind speeds from 4 separate sources: personal weather stations, local weather stations, certified NOAA spotters on the ground, and National Weather Services. To send this report by email or download as a PDF, choose one of the 2 options at the top right corner of the screen. Now, if by chance a date from the Show Wind Dates report is not available, then you can choose from a date at the bottom of the report from wind observation dates. Now, as a rule, you're looking for dates where these numbers are close together within 10, 15 or less miles per hour difference. If they're more than that, let me show you an example. And usually these in red are going to be, it's kind of like a caution. 112 mile per hour wind gust compared to a 65 mile an hour average max gust. So I'm going to click on that date so that you can see what that looks like and save the report date of loss. Scroll back down to this section where you find wind observations. So each of these are the personal weather stations that are submitting wind speeds within a 15-mile radius. This one, which is 11 miles away from this address, is flipping out at a couple times during the day. So because of that, it has skewed the average for the day completely. Now we still have this one that's showing 55 mile an hour wind gusts. So if that's something you can use, then of course you could always select it. Let's compare that to other dates. I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom and we'll look at about this date. So 58 compared to 41. Each time you select a new date of loss, it will refresh the report and move you back to the top of the report. Then you'll just need to scroll down past this historical storm activity. So not real good dates, but I could use this one. The thing about these is unless you get lucky, you may not have any severe weather warnings to back up, that day. But in Florida, you may have some very windy days and not any severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings. So you may just have to rely on the data coming from those personal weather stations. Finally, if you don't want to show any hail details on this report, then check the checkbox to show wind data only at the top of the report. Thanks for joining me. If If you have any questions, please give us a call.